Hi everybody, once again. This is a new lecture serving as a transition between phonetics and phonology, and we're going, of course, to introduce some of the essential notions in phonology. Today. Of course, you're going to have as a title phonology, but we are going to dwell on some of the distinctions between phonology and phonetics, and this is what we're going to find in our first slide. So let me just remind you what we said about phonetics first. It is the analysis of the sounds of all languages or one language in terms of articulation, that is articulatory phonetics, transmission, that is acoustic phonetics, and perception, that is auditory phonetics, without taking account of the function of these sounds. But phonology is the analysis of the way in which different languages exploit different ranges of speech sounds and the system of contrasting these. Remember that in principle the speech sounds that human beings can produce are infinite, and that every language makes use of only a finite number of speech sounds. Thus, both phonetics and phonology have the same subject matter, that is to say, human speech sounds, but they look at it from different points of view. That is to say, phonetics is general, descriptive, and classificatory, whereas phonology is particular, functional, and considers language as a communication system. The term general, it means that it's not restricted only to one language, but it is concerned with language with capital L. It is descriptive because its job is to describe all the speech sounds that we produce. It is classificatory because it classifies sounds according to their properties, or what we call characteristics. Now, phonology is particular because it looks at what happens within one language, and it is functional because it considers the function or the role that speech sounds play in communication. Of course, this leads us to the last point, which says that phonology considers language as a communication system. Note, phonetics uses narrow transcription, it uses square brackets, and phonology uses broad transcription, that is, it uses oblique slashes. Of course, there is a sense in which one can say that phonetics provides the means for describing speech sounds, whereas phonology studies the way in which speech sounds form systems and patterns in human language. So, which means that we can take phonetics as the basis on which phonology relies for its whole work. So phonology is the system of speech sounds. It studies the regular sounds of a language and how these sounds are organized in units. Phonology is also the knowledge that we have about our language. We all easily distinguish utterances that belong to our languages and those that do not, even if they are pronounced in the same way. In other words, we easily recognize a foreign accent. Now, the phoneme, which is the basic unit of phonology. The phonemes of a language are the recurrent phonological units which are capable of distinguishing between the meaning of words. So the key word here, distinguishing, that is, phonemes contrast the meaning of words. So the best way to isolate the phonemes of a language is to look for words which have the same sounds except one in the same position. Of course, the underlying sounds are phonemes in English in the words pill, p, bill, b, till, t, kill, k, and dil, d. These sounds in red are the elements which are responsible for contrasting these words. Therefore, we can consider them as different phonemes in English. Notice, of course, in these examples, we have got the same environment, the same phonetic environment, L. This is the environment, and it is the initial position which changes in all cases. Thus, phonemes should be able to occur in the same environment and contrast words. So, for two different phonemes, for two different sounds, first of all, to be considered as two different phonemes, they should be able to occur in the same environment in order to contrast words. So, two or more words, of course. The contrast can occur initially, as in the previous examples, medially, or finally. Let's have a look at these words. Put, pat, pit. Thus, U, A, and E are different phonemes in English because the only difference between all these words is the vowels inside them. So it's the medial position that makes the difference between the words here. Now, let's have a look at another case. Man, mad, map. So here we can say n, d, and p are different phonemes in English because they are the elements which make the whole difference. They contrast the words man, mad, and map. Okay, so this is our first criterion. We have to look for those words which share exactly the same sounds except one in the same position. So those sounds which make the difference between words are called phonemes. Okay. Note, when a pair of words differs by one phoneme only, it is called a minimal pair. This is what we have we said before. For example, bill, pill. These two words constitute a minimal pair because they have got the same phonetic environment L, but the difference here we have got B and here we have got P. Same thing for man, mad. Here we have got the difference is found in the last position here. Okay, man, mad. So n and d are two different phonemes at the end because they make the whole difference between the two words. Put, pat. Same thing here, it's in the middle. We have got u and here we have got a. So u and a are two different phonemes because they contrast these two words which constitute one minimal pair. Now, it's usually the case that one phoneme is realized or pronounced differently according to the context. For example, p is aspirated initially in English and unaspirated medially or finally. So it's the phonetic environment which makes the difference in between the realizations of the same sound or the same phoneme. So in such cases, both p and p are allophones of the same phoneme. Why do we call them allophones? Because these two sounds do not occur, can't occur in the same position. If this one is initial, automatically it should be aspirated. But if it is somewhere else, it's not aspirated here. Therefore, the two sounds can't occur in the same place or the same position here. They are allophones. So let's look at some of the characteristics of allophones. Allophones never distinguish the meanings of words. Allophones can occur in complementary distribution. That is to say, not in the same environment. Example, we can talk about the aspirated and unaspirated p, the clear and dark L. For example, we know we have got one sound, one phoneme in English, which is L. But this L is pronounced in different ways in different phonetic environments. For example, words like clear, we don't say clear, we say clear. So the L here is clear. But in the word people, the L in people, we don't pronounce it as L, we pronounce it as L. It is dark. So notice clear L is L, but dark L is L in people. Okay? So these two sounds belong to the same phoneme, clear and dark L. They are two realizations of L. And what makes the difference between them is the position where they are found. So there are two allophones of the same phoneme. Now, allophones can also occur in free variation, that is to say, in the same environment but without changing the meaning of the words. And this is the case of an infinite number of examples in Moroccan Arabic. Let's consider g and q. In the language of some speakers of Moroccan Arabic, we can say gal and qal. So whether you say g or q in gal and qal, it doesn't make any difference between the two. It remains the same word with the same meaning here. So g and q are in free variation. They are just allophones representing or realizing the same phoneme in Moroccan Arabic. Note, phonemes in one language may be allophones in another language. B and p and b are two different phonemes in English. Pill, bill, and French, bar, par, but they are not phonemes in Moroccan Arabic. Let's consider also Pakistan and Pakistan. Whether you use b or p, it remains the same word, which means that b and p are two different, if you like, realizations here, just allophones. They are not separate phonemes because here they are in what we call free variation. Now, let's talk about some definitions that we need to remember when we deal with further phonological issues. Definition number 1: two sounds are in contrast if the substitution of the one for the other in some utterance changes the meaning of that utterance. Principle A: sounds in contrast must be considered as realizations of different phonemes. The keyword here is different phonemes, because they are in contrast. Now, definition number 2: a phoneme is a minimal contrastive speech sound or unit or set of speech sounds in any given language. Now, definition number 3: the environment of a phonetic sound in a single given utterance is that set of sounds or of silence immediately adjacent to it temporally. Two words differing in only one sound constitute a minimal pair. Okay? Definition number 4: the distribution of a phonetic sound is the sum of all its observed environments. Principle B: sounds not in contrast may be grouped together in a single phoneme. Condition: here we have got to observe these conditions, of course. The two sounds should have some kind of phonetic similarity, and they should be in complementary distribution or free variation. These are things that we explained before. Now, definition number 5: a sound analyzed as belonging to a particular phoneme is an allophone of that phoneme. Definition number 6: complementary distribution. This refers to the mutual exclusiveness of a pair of sounds in a certain phonetic environment. That is to say, if one sound always occurs in a particular environment and another one never occurs in this environment, the two sounds can be said to be in complementary distribution. This is the case of clear and dark L, or aspirated P and unaspirated P. Now, definition number 7: free variation. This refers to the substitutability of one sound for another in a given environment with no consequent change in the word's meaning. These definitions should be kept in mind because we are going to need them while working on data taken from languages the students do not know. So you need first of all to remember them and to understand them in a clear way. That's all as far as this very brief lecture is concerned. We're going to have another lecture talking about phonological processes.